Hey guys, welcome back. I haven't done a collection update video in quite some time, so I wanted to get on here and show you guys some recent pickups I've gotten. Yeah, let's just jump right into it. Now, this one will probably look a little familiar to you guys. Started reviewing some movies from this, and I watched at least most of this box set. I've watched 2 rows of films on here, and it was quite a journey. There's some duds in there. There's definitely some movies I'm not a big fan of, but there's also some films in there that I thought weren't too shabby. Um, but yeah, got to get to this last row over here, which is mainly the Creature from the Black Lagoon films, but you also got some Abbott and Costello, you got House of Dracula, so you do have some films there. So I definitely got to see the rest of those, but from what I've seen so far, it was a pretty good set. They actually have a really nice Blu-ray set. I wish I could have got that. This was like 50 bucks, 60 bucks. The Blu-ray set was 80, but the Blu-ray set looked like it was much nicer. But, you know, I got them on DVD, and can't complain. Got all of them, including the sequels. So I know that one's been on camera before. Moving on, we got a stack over here. This is Blu-rays and 4Ks, and I got a box set down here. We got some steel books. First Blu-ray I got is Willard, the original. Now, fun fact, Willard, the remake with Crispin Glover, was one of the first horror movies, if you want to say these are straight up horror movies. It was one of the first ones I ever seen, and I'm a big fan of that remake. I think that remake is highly underrated, and I've never seen the original. I know there's a sequel to this called Ben. I've never seen that either. The only movie I've seen from this series of movies is the remake of Willard, which I highly enjoy. So, got Willard. Can't wait to check that out. Then I got The Town That Dreaded Sundown on Blu-ray, which I'm glad I was able to find this for cheap because it was hard to track this down for the longest time, even on DVD and stuff. And apparently this comes with a bonus film, The Evictors. So, I don't know if that was a film that the director made, and he was like, hey, you're going to release this, you're going to release my other movie too. I don't know if the same guy made The Evictors, or why that's in here, but you get 2 movies for the price of one. I'm not going to complain about that. But yeah, I'm just glad I was able to find this one, because this was very hard to find, and I've seen the remake, and I enjoy the remake, but this one I've heard a lot about, and is one of the most controversial horror films from the 70s. So, yeah, we'll see how this one turns out. I'll give it a watch here soon, The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Then I also got the Kino Lorber Cannibal Apocalypse Blu-ray. I know there's a 4K, but the Blu-ray was a little bit cheaper. And with this film, I was like, you know, I don't think really 4K was like a necessity for this film. I think I was fine with getting it on Blu-ray. I haven't seen this one yet. John Saxon, I've heard a lot of good things about this movie, and you know, it was pretty cool that Kino Lorber made a new edition of it, so now it's a little bit more available. So I got Cannibal Apocalypse. Then also I got the Clerks movies on Blu-ray. I wanted to wait to get these movies because I wasn't sure if they were going to do a big 4K set one day, and I know they have a 4K set of like Clerks 1, 2, and 3. I didn't know if they were going to release all the Kevin Smith films on 4K, so I wanted to wait before I got these. But I thought about it, and I was like, honestly, these Blu-rays are very, very cheap. They look good for what they are. I don't think a 4K would be really necessary. I mean, Mallrats looked fine. These look fine. Apparently, Clerks 2 is like one of the best Blu-ray transfers out there. But yeah, I watched Clerks, and it was a lot of fun revisiting it. Really good Blu-ray, lots of features. Definitely worth it. And then my favorite Kevin Smith movie, shockingly, is Clerks 2. And I haven't re-watched this one yet, but I did hear that this is like one of the best Blu-rays out there. So they were both very, very cheap. I'm going to be getting Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back on Blu-ray soon too. So I'll be watching that and re-watching it and revisiting it. I wouldn't get Dogma, but it's out of print. But apparently it's going back into print. So whenever that comes out and they reprint that stuff, I'm going to get Dogma because I love that movie too. But right here is a movie that I didn't think I'd ever own, but seen it for a good deal, wanted to rewatch it again, and so I was like, hey, it's the original Faces of Death, which I do like this movie. I'm actually a bigger fan of like Mondo Cane and The Killing of America. I think those films are better, but I don't mind Faces of Death 1. The sequels, they get repetitive. I'm not a big fan of the sequels, but the original Faces of Death, I do think is a fine movie. It's a Mondo film. I just wasn't able to find it ever. Like, you go on eBay and look for this movie, just look up Faces of Death on eBay, you will not be able to find this movie. It is just, like, hard to find. Even though there's plenty of copies of it, it's just, you can't find it anywhere. It's really strange. But Faces of Death, this is actually a pretty old Blu-ray. This Blu-ray came out in 2008. And I don't know who owns the rights to Faces of Death. Apparently it's this company called Gorgon Video. I'm not sure if they're still a thing or not, but it's kind of bizarre that there hasn't been a new release for Faces of Death in so long. I mean, this is a very infamous movie. It's a classic exploitation movie, and, you know, there is some real death in there. I know there's a lot of controversy with the movie, but a lot of it is staged, a lot of it is faked. It's definitely effective in some areas at what it's trying to do. Some of the segments that are, particularly the ones that are staged, are kind of silly at times. But yeah, Faces of Death is a classic. I don't mind it. I'm not like a huge mega fan of it, but I don't mind the movie and rewatching it again. There was some stuff in there that I didn't notice before, and the rewatch, I like it still. I think it's a pretty decent film. There's like a bizarre segment, though, with ghosts that I did not remember at all in this movie. And I also got it because it has a commentary, it has interviews. I wanted to learn more about the movie. And honestly, if they ever did a 4K, you just might as well stick with this, because even this, like a Blu-ray, you're not going to get much out of Faces of Death, because even on Blu-ray, it didn't look much different. So I got Faces of Death. Then I got one that I've always heard about. Kino Lorber did a Blu-ray of it. This and Empire of the Ants and like one other movie. And I've always heard about it, so I want to check it out. And that is H.G. Wells' The Food of the Gods, which is a awesome concept of giant killer rats. So when I heard about that, I was like, hey, yeah, I'll check that out. So we got Food of the Gods on Blu-ray. And depending on how good this movie is, I'll pick up the Empire of the Ants, because this, that, and one other movie was like a big release that Kino announced. So we got that. This is one that I didn't think I would ever pick up. You guys know me and August Underground. I talked about August Underground, I did a review on it, and I stated that I would never get Mortem and Penance because I thought they weren't really worth owning. They were just too much. They were ridiculous. However, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to own Mortem. Maybe at this point it would be a little pointless to have part 1 and part 3 and not part 2, but I don't know if I'm ever going to own Mortem, because that movie's nuts. But I did want to give August Underground's Penance another shot, because watching the special features for August Underground, watching reviews on these movies, this is like a fan favorite, and this is one that people say to go back and rewatch. And you know what? I want to give it another chance. I got the Blu-ray mainly because there's a shit ton of features, tons and tons of features, tons of commentaries, interviews, documentaries. And after hearing Fred Vogel talk about it, after hearing all of the interviews and documentaries, watching the documentaries, I do want to give this one another shot, because I do remember it having certain scenes that I thought were really well done. So even though I wasn't the biggest fan when I first watched it, maybe the second time around I'll end up liking it a bit more. And yeah, we'll definitely see how it goes. Kind of hard to see that, but that's the original poster art there. And then on the inside, you got artwork on the discs. And Unearthed, I mean, they did a really good job with these movies. There's the reversible art. They did a really good job because, you know, for the longest time, these movies were out of print and hard to find. And, you know, I commend them for not only releasing the first movie once again and making that one easily findable, but also I appreciate the fact that they went out and released the sequels. So yeah, didn't think I'd ever own that one, but I did want to give it a shot. So we got August Underground's Penance. Really cool that I found this. I also found a Boris Karloff DVD set, which I'm real ashamed that I couldn't pick that one up because I just didn't really have the money at the time. I mean, I wasn't broke, but I was like, I bought a lot of movies recently, so I was like, I can wait. And of course, left that Walmart, came back a week later, it was gone. So I should have gotten it, but we'll find it again someday. We'll find it again. But I got the Vincent Price collection. Now, the little bit of work I have seen from Vincent Price, I've really enjoyed. The one that I really was a big fan of was Madhouse. I really enjoyed that one. Return of the Invisible Man, I thought that was a pretty good one. But I haven't seen his big films. This one comes with The Pit and the Pendulum, The Mask of the Red Death, The Haunted Palace, The Fall of the House of Usher, The Abominable Dr. Phibes, and Witchfinder General, which are some of his big films. And so I definitely wanted to check these out. And the Blu-ray was fairly cheap, and so I figured I would pick it up. Also comes with a booklet. And like I said, I'm not super familiar with these movies. I know some of them have gotten a lot of critical acclaim over the years. That's about all I really know. I haven't seen too many of his other films, so we'll definitely see how it all goes whenever I get to these movies, but I'm definitely excited to check them out. And moving on from that, we got some Criterions I picked up during the Criterion sale. Picked up David Lynch's Blue Velvet, which I loved this movie. I thought this was an amazing film. Dennis Hopper is what really sold me with this film. I mean, it was great before he came into the movie, but my God, when Dennis Hopper comes in, it just boosts it to the next level. And yeah, I absolutely loved Blue Velvet. Thought it was a great time. I thought it was pretty dark too at certain points, especially towards the end of the movie. Things definitely got real dark, but yeah, Blue Velvet, really good movie. I highly recommend it. I don't think enough people talk about Blue Velvet. Or Inland Empire. People sleep on that one too. This one I have yet to get to, and that is David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. I got this because a lot of people were telling me that if I haven't seen it yet, I gotta watch it. And people were telling me that it was great and amazing, and it gets tons and tons of great reviews. So after all the time of me waiting to pick it up, I finally did get a copy of Mulholland Drive, which is a big fan favorite amongst the David Lynch fans. And yeah, we'll see. I'll give it a watch whenever I can, and we'll see if it ends up being as good as everybody says it is. But Mulholland Drive. I think the next movie I'm going to get on Criterion from Lynch, it will be Lost Highway. I think I'll get that one next. This is one that I seen for the first time, and that is Blowout. Nancy Allen and John Travolta starring in this one. This is another Criterion that I highly enjoyed. Most of these Criterions are movies that I heard little about or were blind buys. This one I've heard some good things about. Didn't know a ton about this movie, but giving it a watch, I really enjoyed it. It was a great movie, and I love the concept. So Blowout was a great one. We got Peeping Tom, which I thought was a classic, man. I mean, an absolute classic. I loved this movie, Peeping Tom. And I got Peeping Tom because it goes good with like a double feature in a way with this film, Targets, starring Boris Karloff. Now, I'll say this. This is one of my favorite blind buys from Criterion I've ever gotten. Only way I knew about this movie was because of a documentary, Nightmares in Red, White, and Blue. They touch on this movie. Some people here and there brung it up. I knew the concept. I knew it was Boris Karloff's last big swan song film. I know technically he did movies after this, but this is the big one that he did before he passed away. And oh my God, this movie is a horror film. These kind of movies scare me. Watching a movie where it is so realistic, it is just insanely well done. I mean, it left me speechless. I'm still kind of speechless talking about Targets. It is a phenomenal movie. It's a masterpiece. It really is a masterpiece. And I think more people should see this movie. There is not a lot of reviews of it. There's people out there who have never even heard of this movie. And to me, that is a goddamn travesty, because this film needs to be talked about more, needs to be brung up more, needs to be studied. This is horrifying. And when you watch Targets, you will never forget it. And the subject matter is why I bought both of these, because I wanted to, because this one also deals with a killer, this one deals with a killer. Two different movies. This one is definitely haunting, but this one is really disturbing at how accurate they get things and how real it feels and how it's directed. It's a timeless movie. Even though it came out in the late 60s, it's timeless, it's terrifying, it's a horror movie. Maybe people might not categorize it as a horror movie, but I categorize it as a horror movie because movies like this scare me, where it gets real. It gets a little too close to the real thing, and I'm just like, this is fucking terrifying. And just watching it's just, yeah, you'll never forget it. So if you haven't seen Targets, you got to go get that on the next Criterion sale and check it out. It's a masterpiece. I will plug that movie till my dying day because I think more people need to see it. And Peeping Tom. This is one, though, that doesn't get its any kind of lack of praise, but I know why, and that is Easy Rider, which I checked out half of it. I gotta finish this movie. I got busy on the day that I did check this out, so I wasn't able to finish this film. But I absolutely loved it so far. I mean, it's definitely a classic. I really, really loved Easy Rider so far. So I definitely see why that one gets all the praise it gets. I also got Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which is really tough to pick up on camera, that cover art. But I haven't seen this one yet. I know when it came out, a lot of awards were given to it. It got a lot of praise. People loved it. People preferred this over the Disney remake of Pinocchio, probably for good reason. I gotta check it out, but I've heard good things about it, so I picked it up on Blu-ray. Then the last Criterion I have here, which I think I'm missing one actually. I am missing one. I had another Criterion, which is probably over there somewhere, buried. But I also do have Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai on Blu-ray. I haven't checked it out yet, but I do have that one. It's not in this stack. Somehow I forgot it. But the last Criterion I got here is Haxan on Blu-ray. I don't know if you can really call it a documentary these days. Because a lot of it is really out there and staged, and you know, even the history of everything is kind of weird with this movie. It's a movie. I love this movie. I think it's wonderful. I think there are scenes in this movie that do not age, and it came out in the 20s, I think, at the 1920s. Wonderful special effects. This is a movie that you go into for visuals. It's a very visual movie, and I love the look of the movie. I know a lot of bands use footage from this movie, and they make hardcore rock videos and stuff like that. Yeah, you just see a lot of demons, you see a lot of Satan, you see a lot of witchcraft. I believe you see a demon get its ass spanked, so that's a little weird, but you know, that's in there. Haxan, it's a good one. Love this movie. So we got Haxan on Blu-ray. Then of course, I know a lot of people are gonna groan at this one. They're definitely gonna be like, "What the hell? You wasted money on this?" Yes, I wasted money on this. I don't view it as a waste. I view it as, hey, I actually love this movie. Picked up The Strangers, Chapter 1 on 4K, which I actually dig the artwork. Pretty cool. Like I said, know a lot of people are probably out there like, what? You actually own this movie? And yeah, I think it's pretty decent. I think it was decent enough to get. And the 4K was actually really cool. It wasn't like a typical 4K, so I was like, you know what? It ain't that much money. I like the artwork. The movie is criminally underrated. Too many people bash this movie. It's ridiculous how much hate this movie gets. So I got The Strangers on 4K. Then I got First Blood, Steelbook 4K with the slip. Pretty cool they still call it First Blood, because for a while there they were calling it Rambo First Blood, which bothered the hell out of me because it's not Rambo First Blood. But yeah, we got First Blood. And it's weird. They have First Blood and they have Last Blood on 4K. They don't have the sequels, so I'll have to go see if I can find those sometime. Got the Jaws 4Ks. Got Jaws 1. Jaws 2. Which it really bothers me that this one doesn't have a slipcover because all the other ones do. Then we got Jaws 3. Probably the most infamous one of the 4Ks. Because they used AI for it and it's a nightmare. And I know some people were telling me, Nate, why would you get that 4K? It's a waste. I do not view it as a waste, okay? I want to see an AI nightmare version of Jaws 3. I don't know about y'all, but to me, that sounds like a whole lot of damn fun. So I definitely want to see that. I want to see what the fuck AI did to this movie. And I wasn't showing the inside because that's all you get for these. There's not a lot of artwork. Weirdly enough, Jaws 3 did get a Steelbook 4K. I didn't get it. This was much cheaper. But they also do have the Blu-ray in there. So if you don't want to watch the AI-ridden version 4K, you can watch the Blu-ray. But I want to see that 4K. I want to see that disastrous transfer, man. Then the last one, Jaws the Revenge, which I think is a shitty movie. However, I did hear the 4K helps it. The 4K transfer is amazing, apparently. This is up there at the first two. This might even be the best transfer. Some people said this is the best 4K transfer, but then there are people that say, it's about as good as the first two on 4K. I'm not a big fan of Jaws the Revenge. I know a lot of people love this movie for some reason. I don't know why. It's boring. Nothing happens in it. But the 4K part is what interested me. Because there have been times where I'll get a 4K, and even though I may not be the biggest fan of the movie, I'll watch the movie in 4K, and it just drastically fixes the movie. Fixes the problems, and at least makes it look a whole lot nicer. And I do think Jaws the Revenge is a well-shot movie, so I think it'll look good in 4K. I've heard nothing but good things about it in 4K. So maybe the 4K version I'll like more. Plus, it has the original ending, so maybe I will end up liking it more on 4K. Then, of course, I always end these videos with a box set I pick up. And this one, I know, again, a lot of people... I got some controversial picks here. I spent my money on some things people go like, what? But... I got these movies on 4K because I think they're a lot of fun. I don't hate them as much as other people do. And I'm a big fan of the game series, so the fact that I don't hate these movies is pretty incredible because I love the lore, I love the games. I've been following the game since I was like 5 years old, and I've been playing them on release days like since then. Like, I got Resident Evil, well, I guess I just spoiled what this is, Resident Evil on 4K. But I got like Resident Evil 5 when that dropped. Day one, I got 6, 7, 8. I mean, I've gotten them all when they dropped, except for like anything before Resident Evil 4. But yeah, you got Resident Evil on 4K. It's the movies. Real shitty box art. I mean, like, if I just put this on my shelf, I'd have to explain to people what the fuck this movie is. Well, we put it on top, but not the side. That's stupid. Besides that, though, you do have... I know there's a way better box set out there with the steelbooks, although it's insanely expensive. I only got this one, which it comes with a booklet. Not much of a booklet, just a little... Just tells you, like, the credits and everything, synopsis, the features, that's all it really shows you. But I know there's a steelbook set that looks a lot better than this, but it's insane money. This, I think I might have gotten it for $40, all on 4K and Blu-ray, so to me it was a deal. And we got Resident Evil 1, which looked pretty damn decent on 4K. It wasn't as mind-blowing as I thought it would be, because I think it's a very good visual movie. But it looked pretty decent on 4K. I could tell there was a bit of an upgrade there. Then we got Resident Evil Apocalypse, which looked a little bit better on 4K. I noticed it a little bit more. Then we got Extinction, which looked really good on 4K. Probably the best transfer I've seen in this set so far. From this point on, I have not seen the 4K transfers, but Afterlife, I fucking hate this movie. Awful. It is absolutely garbage. Same thing with this movie. Not the biggest fan of Retribution. I think it's awful. The problem with these fucking sequels is that they took little bits of elements of Resident Evil and they just added a bunch of extra bullshit that you didn't need, basically. Like, you didn't need to have Alice throughout the entire franchise. You could have had Alice and maybe a few other people, but no, you just... Maybe you get a Joe Valentine, maybe you get a Claire Redfield sometimes, but it's just like... It's Mila Jokovich's, which I know I don't say her name right, but... it's her franchise. It's the Alice franchise, which... I just wish it wasn't such a bland character, man. I don't mind the character in the first 3 or 4 movies, but up to a certain point, she becomes very bland. And the final chapter, seen this when it came out, and I don't remember a damn thing about it. I remember it being pretty lame. So those ones, I'm definitely not ecstatic that I own on 4K. Mainly the first 3 is why I got them on 4K. But I think the first 3 are pretty decent movies. They're not mind-blowing. They're not accurate totally. They're not 100% for the fans. Do I think they had the right director choices? Not really. I think they went more with action with Resident Evil than it should have been. And I think, honestly, as a result of that, I think that's why, in the future of Resident Evil in the video games, the emphasis became action. Because you think about it, Resident Evil, the first movie, came out in like 2002. Second one came out in 2004, and then Resident Evil 4 came out in 2005. So literally right after those movies took off, the Resident Evil series became about action and guns and explosions. And I really think it strayed away. Even though they're popcorn, they're fun, I think they started to stray away at a certain point from being horror games. They weren't scary anymore. They weren't intense anymore. They weren't suspenseful anymore. So I think the Resident Evil movies is a lot to blame for that. And for better or for worse. Like I said, the first 3 are pretty decent movies, though. But anyways, y'all, that's it for this collection update. I know I haven't done one of these videos where I'm on camera in a while, but as you guys can see, the lighting and the camera angles are all... It's all messy right now. I'm not really able to film a lot of videos like this right now, so I had to improvise for this and figure out a way to film it, but we got it done. So anyways, y'all, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, and I'll fill you guys more in on what's going on with the channel in the future, because this is no longer the Explorer of Horror. This is no longer the realm of horror movies and movie reviews. This is Grief World. Something completely different. And I hope you guys enjoy. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Take care. And Nate is out. Peace.